welcome to Wildlife Rescue. And I have with me today Leslie Rink from the Opossum Society. She's going to help me, and we're going to be talking about skunks today.
Hi Mary, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good, and I wanted to ask you a few things.
Sure.
You're with Animal Advocates, so...
Yeah, Animal Advocates is a nonprofit animal rescue and education organization. I handle the wildlife division, so I rescue small mammals like skunks. This one seems to be having a nice meal here. Skunks and chipmunks and ground squirrels and tree squirrels and flying squirrels and opossums also.
Great, that's good. So what does Animal Advocates do?
Well, one of the main things that we do is education. Education is so important. There's so many people who just don't know anything about skunks, so they hate them, they're frightened of them, they want to kill them all. So we have a lot of educational flyers that teach people about the different types of native wildlife in Los Angeles. And I also go to schools and we talk to children, we talk to community groups. We just did an elementary school a couple of weeks ago and brought some animals and taught them all about it.
So show and tell. Did Peppy come along with you? Or?
Actually, we had another skunk who went to that event who was Booger the Midget skunk.
Oh, okay.
And this is Pepe. Hello.
And is there an interesting story about Peppy and how you came about him?
Yeah, actually, about, I'd say 2.5, 3 weeks ago, a woman called me and she said that there was, I didn't believe her at the time, she said there was a skunk walking around just on its hind feet with its paws all wrapped around its chest like this with super long nails.
So walking around like a human almost up on its 2 feet? Wow.
That's what she said, and she said it'd been walking around like that for about 5 months. And I didn't really believe her at the time, but I went out there and I trapped the animal, and sure enough, it seems the nylon mesh from sod had gotten, he was probably digging for grubs in the lawn, and because they like to eat all different types of insects and grubs. And he got the mesh from the sod wrapped all around his neck, around his arms, around his chest. And as you can see right now, he still has a lot of fur that needs to grow back in, and he has some scars, and his nails need to be cut again because the quick was right at the end. I needed
So right around his neck, he got the mesh.
Yeah, he was completely wrapped in it, so he was forced to walk on his 2 hind feet for at least 5 months' time. He was extremely infected. I had to cut away a lot of the fur, a lot of the infection, some necrotic tissue.
So he was just trying to dig for food. He comes naturally. So what kind of food do skunks eat in the wild?
Oh, they love insects. Snails and slugs are like caviar to them.
Oh, good.
And they love roaches. That's like a real delicacy. So they're wonderful to have in your garden because they'll eat all the nasty little bugs that most people don't like.
So if you have a skunk in your yard, you really don't need to spray any insecticide or anything like that,
or
put any
a skunk or an
snail
opossum.
pellets out. Okay, yes, great.
People they're not too fond of the skunk funk.
And they're so cute. People really wish they gave them a break.
And this is a wild skunk, and you can see how well-natured and basically timid, and he's not trying to attack anyone. He's not trying to spray anyone, even though he definitely could.
Yes, he could. So now, what habitats do they live, or where would you see them most likely at?
Well, actually, here in Southern California, we have 2 different types of skunks. We have, this is the striped skunk. This is Mephitis. And actually, it's interesting, Mephitis is Latin for foul-smelling, foul-smelling.
Oh,
they say it twice because they're super foul-smelling. And they are anywhere from, I'd say, 6 to 8 pounds, sometimes even 10 when they're full-grown. But the spotted skunk is only 1 to 2 pounds, maybe 2.5 pounds.
So a lot smaller.
Yeah, and they're black with like short little white stripes all over them. I'll show a photo later.
Okay.
But these spray just by, they'll put their tail up in the air. And then they'll stomp their little feet.
So that's their little warning sign to let you know back off. Like he's like looking right now.
Well, he's being very relaxed right now. He's not showing any threatening behavior whatsoever. He's not frightened. He's relaxed. After all he's been through with us cutting all the mesh off from around his neck and flushing the pus and infection and everything.
So he's still recovering from his injuries.
He's going to be going into a conditioning cage next in order to stretch out his limbs more and run around and gain some muscle, and he needs to grow back his fur.
And he likes to dig there. Are they diggers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Skunks are diggers just like raccoons are diggers.
Okay.
And raccoons also like to get grubs out of lawns sometimes. So sometimes, oh, look how cute that is.
So that's how he got himself in trouble. He was digging in the new sod looking for grubs and got himself stuck.
Yeah, it also happens to raccoons. They also can get wrapped in mesh, the nylon mesh. In fact, if anyone's putting in a new lawn, try to make sure you get the biodegradable mesh. It's supposed to biodegrade quickly, like within a year. And this way you won't have any of these problems with this wildlife entangled in the mesh in your yard.
Or kind of like the soda pop little plastic rings, you want to cut those if you're recycling.
Yeah,
yes.
they can get into those too. Sometimes they can even get stuck with cans on their heads.
Or I hear a big thing is the Yoplait yogurt.
I heard about that.
You know, yogurt little plastic containers, they get stuck their heads in there. So yeah, just clean those out real good and, you know,
He's looking for some grubs in there.
Yeah, digging.
Unfortunately, there aren't any in there.
Now, how often, speaking of their environment, how often do they breed? Is there special mating or breeding seasons?
Yeah, actually, skunks, they only breed once a year, and we generally start getting the first babies like April and May. We start getting the first babies of the year.
So the general baby season, spring season type thing. Okay.
And they're what's interesting about skunks is that they're induced ovulators. Eggs are very precious to them, so what they do is they don't ovulate until they have intercourse with the male. Then they ovulate afterwards. And sometimes they can also postpone the actual pregnancy. They could have the fertilized egg, but they can postpone the pregnancy if the weather isn't good, or there's not enough good food supplies, or they're sick.
So that makes their survivability better, chances.
Much better.
Okay. He's really cute.
And this, obviously, is a little boy here.
So
he's almost full grown, but he's a little bit small because he was wrapped in the wire and he couldn't eat that well.
Stunted his growth a little bit, maybe around his arms and head. He looks a little smaller. You can see some of the markings there. Yeah, but he's looking so much happier and healthier, so you can see underneath the lines and stuff like that. Well, he was lucky to find you. So how would someone get in touch with you if they do find an injured or ill skunk?
Well, I do all different types of small mammals, but if you find any type of small mammal and you're in the Southern California area, especially LA County, you can go online and search for animal advocates. I'm at www.animaladvocates.us.
Okay, that's good.
Or if you're not in this area, you can also just search for wildlife rehabilitator, and he's so cute. And put in the city where you are and the type of animal that you found, and you can find a whole list.
Okay.
Plus on the website, my website, I have a list of all the rehabilitators in the entire nation.
Now what happens if someone's not computer literate? How would they find you otherwise?
Well, I'm in the directory, of course. But let's say they forgot. You can call a local animal shelter. Don't take the animal there. Ask them for a referral, because most animal shelters, they euthanize all wildlife that's brought in, and especially with the skunks, because they're a rabies vector species.
Okay, so they can carry diseases.
Well, they can carry rabies for a longer period of time than most animals before dying. They can carry it 2-3 weeks before succumbing to the illness. So just like raccoons, foxes, and bats and skunks, those are the rabies vector animals in this area. And in Southern California, namely California, the most common rabies vector species is actually the bat. You're most likely to get rabies from a bat.
Wow.
But the chances are still extremely low. Yeah, we don't
think so. Yeah.
It's not a big issue here in California and some other places back east.
So when you have them in your care, you get all the vaccinations just to be on the safe side.
Oh, I do that anyway.
Okay,
it safeguards the people, it safeguards the population of skunks, and it's better for the animal.
It's preventative maintenance. It's good.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Oh, I know. He's being such a good guest.
So what happens if they have one in the yard and they really don't want one in the yard? How would they keep it out of the yard?
Well, a lot of people, they don't like the skunk funk. He has a tiny bit of a funk, even if they don't spray. So let's say they're denning in the crawl space under your house and you don't want them there. Or let's say you have a dog. Now, if you have a dog, you probably don't want skunks in the backyard, because the dog will frighten the skunk and the dog will get sprayed. And tomato juice does not work. That's a wives' tale. It does not work to get rid of the scent.
Really? Okay.
The pet stores, Petco, PetSmart, they sell a variety of products which is specifically made for getting rid of the skunk smell, and it works.
I've seen that Nature's Miracle just for skunks, and they have odor mute or something for cleaning kennels too. Does that kind of stuff work?
Very similar.
Okay.
But back to your question. The most important thing to do if you don't want them in your backyard is to discourage them. Be sure to block all the entrance and exits to your crawl space, but make sure they're out first.
Okay.
And one way to make sure they're out is to lure them out.
With like food or something like that?
And skunks are crepuscular, which means...
Wow, that's a $1.50 word. Okay.
And crepuscular, and that means that they're generally out at dawn and dusk. They're not nocturnal, they're not diurnal.
That's
so
unusual.
they come out, that's when they do most of the
Is that when
feeding.
their food supply comes out in the early morning and then at dusk too?
Yeah,
okay.
Plus that's when I guess they prefer to be out.
Okay.
But they're not truly nocturnal, which is a misnomer and a wise
So they sleep during the day then and at night too?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Wow. So are they kind of omnivores too in a way? They're going to eat meat and
exactly
insects?
like opossums. They'll also eat mice and they'll eat rats. Generally they're pretty fast, but this guy is still, stretching out his limbs and recovering from his injury. But they'll eat the grubs and insects, and they'll eat rotten fruit. They'll eat dying animals, dead animals. They'll go into your trash can.
So they're scavenger kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
They clean up your backyard.
Okay.
I mean, in fact, it's great to have them clean up all the dead animals, because then you're less likely to have disease being spread or bacteria viruses growing.
Exactly, yeah. And
So
they're so cute. I don't know why anyone wouldn't like to have them in their yard.
And this is a totally wild skunk.
Wow.
So
just don't startle it and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. And if you have a dog and you do notice that you have skunks around, try not to let your dog out during those hours, dusk and dawn, and you'll be pretty safe. If you see one in your backyard, bring the dog in, because domestic dogs, because they've been bred for a multitude of purposes, there's not been any natural selection. So they have no idea that 2 stripes down the back means skunk, means get sprayed in the face.
It means caution.
Coyotes, on the other hand, they know what a skunk is. They see a skunk, they back away. They know what the stripes mean. But dogs are not as smart.
I'm sure once he gets sprayed once, he'll figure it out that that's a bad sign.
Dogs don't figure it out.
They're kind of dumb that way, huh? Oh,
But what's good, if you have cats, you don't have to worry about it, because like opossums, skunks, cats, opossums, they can all eat out of the same bowl. They can all get along. No one's going to attack each other or kill each other.
So they don't have to worry about if the cat's outside, indoor, outdoor, they're afraid the skunk's going to attack it. So,
that's but good. If you don't want a skunk in your backyard, don't leave pet food out, and don't leave water out, and pick up drop fruit, and lock your trash can. Just don't give them the 3 things: food, water, shelter.
Just clean up the environment if you don't want them around.
Block your crawl space area so they can't get in or out.
And attic too, also.
They're generally not climbers when they're adults. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah. If you have something in your attic, it's probably a raccoon or rats. Sometimes squirrels also.
Roof rats too.
Yeah. If you hear something scratching at night, it's probably a raccoon or a rat.
Okay.
If you only hear the scratching in the daytime, you probably have a squirrel in your attic. Because sometimes different animals get blamed for what another animal does.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you have a dichondra and the whole thing's ripped up in the morning, it's not this guy, it's a raccoon.
The raccoon, right.
Yeah.
Same with possums. They think they're digging up the garden where it could be the raccoons, or maybe even during the day a squirrel burying a nut.
Yeah, or squirrels get blamed for what rats do to people's attics when it's generally the rats who are up there.
He's such a good little guy, isn't he? He's
I know, what a good little nest.
Yeah. Did you have something else to show us here you brought with you? Okay.
You look the other way, okay?
You think
don't look here. This is just... Okay. Hopefully he doesn't recognize it. So this is just to show what the basic coat looks like. It's 2 stripes. A lot of people think that it's 1 stripe, but it's actually 2 stripes going down the back. And this is the basic pattern right here. Sometimes I'll put that away so he doesn't think that he's next.
He's getting all fluffed up, and I got the business end on my side, and we don't want that.
But a lot of people think that there's only like 1 stripe, but they can have a variety of patterns. They even have, just like opossums, you can get an albino one. You can get one that's pure black. Sometimes native ones come in different colors, like brown. Sometimes they have 2 little thin stripes or 2 huge stripes that turn into, just makes it look like it's just 1 huge white stripe down the back.
Now, do they go in ponds or water or anything like that? If you have a fish pond or a turtle pond, would they be able to? They will.
Okay. But if you're missing fish out of your pond, it's most likely the raccoon.
The raccoon, okay.
And if you don't want to have that problem, put wire mesh over the top, or make the pond a little bit deeper and have little things for the fish to hide in. Okay. And this way the raccoons can't reach down there and get to them.
Okay, that's a good idea, because I was looking at the fur and it looks very thick and coarse. I know whether it's water repellent kind of thing, like a duck.
It is very oily, and it is somewhat water repellent, because I've released quite a few next to creeks, and some of them just dive right into it and just start swimming across as if it's nothing. So they will go into the water, though fish isn't like their main food, but...
If that's only food, they might go for it.
Oh,
now, when it comes to him, I see he's lifting his butt. Now, the spray, is that a certain kind of sac or gland, or how does they get the smell like that?
They're actually one of the only types of species, except for also the stink badger, that has, it's inside the anal gland. They have their, the scent glands. Okay. They have 1 on each side in there. It's the anus glands, just like a dog and a cat and a ground squirrel. Okay. And even the
possums, right? Possums have them too. Yeah.
But inside their glands are a lot larger, and inside them they have this thick, mucousy yellow substance, very oily. Okay. And a healthy adult can shoot with perfect aim right into your eyes at 15 feet.
15 feet.
So
stay clear 15, 20 feet.
If you happen to go in your backyard during the crepuscular hours, which are dusk and dawn, and you happen to see one of these guys, stop. Don't make any sound or noise. Slowly back up
away.
and just back away from them.
So back away is the key thing.
Don't startle them. And then make sure your dog's in the house.
Right.
Yeah, don't try to scare it away because you're just going to get sprayed in your face.
And then oily substance. It
absorbs into the skin a little bit, and the smell really lingers. And if they get you in the eye, it'll sting and burn. And if they get you in the nose, the same thing.
Okay. So we want to be very careful not to startle the little guy.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's what the biggest complaint is with skunks, is obviously being able to spray and spraying the dogs. And sometimes they will have the musky smell around their den, but what's interesting is that they don't spray each other as their little babies growing up, and they generally don't like to spray. If they were to encounter each other, they'd go another way. They wouldn't spray each other.
Okay.
That's safe for us.
Now, are they territorial when they set up? Are they live in communes or communicate, or are they solitary animals?
Well, like the opossums and some of the tree squirrels, they are solitary animals.
Okay.
They only come together to mate.
Okay.
Otherwise, a female will be aggressive toward a male any other time of the year.
And say, get the heck out. Okay.
Yeah, because she generally has to protect her babies.
Okay.
And the only time they hang out is when they're young, and then as soon as they're juveniles, and then they're on their way, they finally make it on their own. And they have, they're kind of like wanderers. They'll have a little den set up, let's say, in a bush. Okay. And they'll take up a groundhog's hole, they'll take that burrow and live in there. Or they'll get under your house or underneath like a turned trash can on the side of your yard.
Or if you have like a storage shed or something like it, or how about wood piles in the backyard or
they
junk
would
piles?
love that too.
Same like possums, like the hide in that.
That would be perfect. Yeah, and in fact, if you don't want them around, make sure you don't have a lot of debris and brush in your backyard.
Just clean up your yard and don't give them a lot of hiding places.
They'll keep a lot of other animals, because coyotes, they also like to den in brush or under your house or under the porch steps.
Okay.
And if you don't want those animals also.
Okay. Now, how many per litter do they have? They only have it once a year, like you said, right?
Yeah, once a year. And but sometimes if the mother were to have lost a litter, she might have another one later in the year. But that's the only time. And they have about 5 to 6.
Okay, and now how are they fed? Do you have any pictures with you to show?
I have a couple of pictures. Okay. Now this guy's almost full grown, but because we had to clip his fur and his muscle tone is not that good and needs to gain some weight, he doesn't look like a regular skunk. Now here, whoopsie, here is a regular adult skunk. And you see the beautiful tail this guy has.
Yeah, he has some more white in there.
Well, what's interesting is that the tail at the base, the strand is white, and then there's a band of black, and then another band of white. So this guy has a really beautiful tail. He's full grown. This guy's about 7-8 pounds, and
he's a big one.
He's digging for something in the grass there. Hopefully he won't find any of that sod mesh.
And he's a little fluffed up. So this is the tail when it's alert, kind of gets fluffy like this and up in that position?
He's not quite full alert stage. He's just out of his environment a little bit.
Okay.
This is an educational skunk that would put him outside to get a little exercise because he's a little fatty. But this guy's tail would puff up like a peacock. It would puff up, sticking straight up and just flowing out to the sides like a peacock. Just a beautiful
really fluffed
display.
Up right now. Yeah, he's real pretty right
there. But they
there.
get even fluffier. And this is what I was saying is a spotted skunk.
Oh, that's cute.
This, of course, is a stuffed one because I don't have any good pictures of live ones. But they're only 1 to 2 pounds, and they walk in this handstand a lot. They're very small. They eat similar items. And this is another skunk that we have here in Southern California. They're very rare. You're most likely to see them. They're not a city skunk.
Are they more in the hillside or?
Hillsides, foothills, even some near the desert areas.
Oh, in the deserts too? Okay.
Yeah. And
now the tail is much shorter too and not as fluffy there.
Yeah, and it's a different coloration too.
Yeah, it's black with like white on the bottom. Interesting.
And, oops. And this is another educational skunk. His name is Booger. He is a midget. Here he is at 3.5 weeks. This is a normal size, and he has chronic renal failure. His mother didn't want him, so she abandoned him and threw him into this pit of wet mud. Maybe she was trying to, mercy kill him so he would die more quickly instead of dying of renal failure. But he ended up getting mud in all of his different orifices and was kind of infected. But he's going to be used for educational purposes.
Now, was his eyes open at this stage, or what age do their eyes open up at?
Their eyes open around 3.5 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
And let's see. Here we go. And here I am feeding a little Booger. This is how we feed the baby skunks.
With a syringe?
With an oral syringe, which means it has no needle in it. And I don't use a nipple with them. but this is Espalac puppy milk. Some people use other formulas, but it's what I prefer to use. I think Fox Valley actually has a skunk formula by now. And they lap. They don't suckle, so they lap. So they just lick at it.
So very slow process and let them lap out of the syringe.
Yeah, and this is why if someone finds a baby skunk, please don't try to feed them, because a lot of people, they try to squirt it in the mouth thinking they're going to suckle, and they end up aspirating it, which means the skunk inhales it into their lungs, and then they get pneumonia, and then they die probably within 24 hours.
That's a common problem, so we tell you to contact. Now, how would someone contact you if they do find a little baby and they need to get it to someone right away for nursing?
If they're in the LA County area or Southern California area, they can contact me through animaladvocates.us. Or they can find me through referrals from their veterinarian or referral from animal shelter or animal rescue place. Sometimes even zoos will refer to me, even the police refer to me, and fire department.
Okay. Now, since you're a nonprofit organization, you rely heavily on donations for your supplies, formula, medicines, towels, cages, and all that.
I'm getting ready to try to apply for a couple of grants, but we rely mainly on donations. Unfortunately, people are nice enough sometimes when they come in to drop off an animal, when they realize how much work's involved, 24-hour, around-the-clock care, feeding them every 2 or 3 hours. They make a little donation, and it's all tax-deductible. So I give them a tax-deductible receipt.
That's good. That's very good.
And I have a couple more pictures here.
Oh, great. Uh-oh.
Let's see.
That's not what you want to see.
This is a little girl skunk, and she is threatening to spray me. I'm in the cage trying to clean up. But she's not full grown, but as you can see, they have their anus and their eyes pointing straight at you at the exact same time. They're very flexible. They can turn their body around in like a U shape and have both of them facing the exact same time. They can spray either side. Very, very quickly they can move. And then as soon as they show the anus, then the anus gets wide and it gets very red, and you can see two jets on either side of the anus, and then that's exactly where the spray comes from.
So you don't want to see this.
This is what you don't want to see. Fortunately, they put the tail up first, and then they do stomp, 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 stomp as a second warning. I'm sorry.
You're sleeping.
Who's stomping at me? And then they turn the butt around, and they'll show you the butt a few times, and then they'll show you the red anus a couple times, and you'll see the jets, and then it's history.
Okay. And it's off to the pet store.
This is an educational skunk. Now, we never have skunks as pets because it's illegal to have wildlife as pets in this state, but we do every once in a while if we get one that cannot be released because it's very ill or injured. We'll keep it for educational purposes, and this is Booger. So when I take him to an event, he's in a cage, but at home he can run free and have his own cage. He's having a little showdown here with the cat.
The cat's not very happy there. Now, Booger, is this the same squirrel you showed earlier with the renal failure? I mean, skunk. You got me saying it now.
Skunk, chipmunk.
So
many animals.
So this is the same one that had renal failure.
Yeah, this is the same one. He's not full grown. He only weighs 2 pounds. He should weigh anywhere from at least 6 to 8 sometimes.
But he looks so much better there. You've done a great job.
Yeah, he's getting a little better, but he's still a little small, and he has some work to do.
Well, that's a lot of hard work, you know.
And this is what happens when you have educational skunk. He's in training here, and this is why you don't want to leave him alone. They find their way into your refrigerator.
He's like a midnight snack, huh?
Oh, he's 24-hour-a-day snack if he had his way. He's on a diet.
He's like, look at that.
Oh, I know. He could climb in there. And another reason why you don't want to let him around, he's checking out the recyclables. He tipped them over. Skunks are very, very curious.
So you want to have locked lids on your trash cans just for this happening all the time.
If they can get into this, and they can get into, well, that's the end of our photos, they can get into just about anything. They're not as coordinated as raccoons, because raccoons have the opposable thumbs. But these guys, with their little claws, they actually have long claws, which are soft and blunted, which they use for digging, but they can open any cabinet. And that's how they can get underneath your house, into your trash can,
yeah, their claws are quite long there,
His are a little long because he wasn't able to grind down his claws.
He had his up like that.
They were very, very long. And so I have to trim them, but the first time I trimmed them, his quick had grown out, and I didn't want to cut into it and cause him any pain. So I'm going to slowly. But now he's able to walk on them a little bit. He's doing much better. He's been a very, very good guest.
Yeah, he's had some grapes in there, but I think he's devoured them all.
But if you take a look at the skunk, now notice they have a very small head. Now their head is about the size of a squirrel.
Okay.
Yet they weigh 6 to 8 pounds, and squirrels only weigh 2 pounds. So they weigh quite a bit more with such a small head. But their head, they're kind of shaped like a wedge. In the front, it's pointed, and they have shorter arms in the front and bigger, thicker legs in the back and a wider rump area. They use this so they can just dig and dig and get all the weight.
So they're always hunched down,
so they can get into little holes and get into little things and into trouble.
A lot into trouble.
Yeah, in fact,
you have some display for us to show the shape.
I brought some. Good. You can't see this. I brought some skulls today, and right here is a common house cat, so you can just gauge a little bit the difference. Here's a common house cat. And next to this is a squirrel. You can see the sharp teeth of the squirrel here.
The incisors?
Yeah, which constantly grow, and they grow about 6 inches a year. And next to it, this is a skunk. Now, see, notice the size? In fact, this skunk head is a little bit smaller than the squirrel. And yet, it's 4 times the size.
Yes, the body is much bigger.
And you can see how different the teeth are on the skunk are more like a cat. They have the very similar teeth, sharp incisors, and the same molars and everything else. But the squirrel's very different.
Yeah, they've got more rodent kind of teeth.
And to gauge something, now here's an opossum. It's a female. It's not full grown. And just so everyone knows that the pelts and the skulls are all from roadkill. They all died somewhat natural.
Just for educational, natural causes.
None of these were trapped or paid for. Because we wouldn't want to encourage anything like that. But so here's an opossum. It's not full grown. You can see the opossum has the 50 teeth.
A lot of teeth there.
That's why people think they're kind of scary. And then here is the raccoon, which you can see is a bit larger.
A lot larger there, yes.
And raccoons can get anywhere from 35 to 50 pounds.
Those are big. Now, you talked about, since a lot of people may not want them in the yard, and let's say if they call you and they've trapped one, what advice would you give them?
Well, if you find one in a trap, whatever you do, don't approach it very quickly. What you want to do is get a towel, maybe even a wet towel, hold it up in front of you, and slowly walk towards the trap. Slowly lay it on it. As long as the skunk can't see the target, it won't try to spray. And then you can try to let it out if that's your main thing.
Okay, let it out. Okay. Now, is there any...
I think we're running a little bit out of time.
Oh, out of time. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you, Mary,
for... sitting here talking about skunks all this time.
It's been so entertaining
so
and very educational.
About them.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us, and that's a lot of educational information. And again, contact animal advocates on the website there.
Animaladvocates.us, or you can find me through any referrals through veterinarians. Okay,
great. Well, thank you for joining us. It's been very educational.
And thanks for helping me out.
And thanks for joining Wildlife Rescue.
Thank you.
Thank you. And look at little Peppy.
This is why I always wonder. I'm a pond full of regrets. I always try to not remember rather than forget. This is why I always whisper when vagabonds are passing by. I tend to keep myself